Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only Cardinal podcast that, like Willson Contreras' arm, is going to need a lot of help to get through this season. Oof. My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Finn Samorka.
Hey, Nate H.
If you have an idea for the opening bit, text or leave us a voicemail at 848-48-BIRDS. Hambone,
Yo.
How you doing? It is a stormy day here in St. Louis as we sit through the current rain delay waiting for the final game of the Mets series.
Yeah, I'm doing better than that. It's mid 50s and sunny out here in sunny, beautiful Colorado.
Sounds terrible.
But it's had some wind issues. I just got a tree. I planted a tree recently. We've named it Tree E. And tell you what, his roots haven't taken root yet. And he's
how you spell in Tree E? Is that tree-E or like a Y?
I think it's TREE-EE.
Great, the worst way.
But he's out there holding on for dear life with this win. Let me tell you, partner.
Wow. I heard the other day that basically if you live in the mountains over the course of a 79-year life, you technically age about 1/billionth of a second more than those of us living on us flatlanders.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty interesting. I think you show your age, Ben. I think you can see it.
I've heard this idea. It's essentially like the time, like even in your room, like the time is traveling slower on the floor as opposed to the ceiling, right? Like almost you can't even detect
small.
it, but technically it is. Yeah.
Yeah. It's. I mean the number I heard was seriously something like if someone lives in a mountain range over 79 years, they are like 1/90th of a second older than someone living the same on Earth. And I guess it makes sense why you look like shit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I fly out to LA and lay in the sand a couple of times a year just to kind of mitigate that, and hopefully, being at sea level will freshen me up. But obviously it hasn't done enough for you. So I'll keep working on that, keep hydrating and I'll try my hardest.
Apply your creams.
I got creams, baby.
Well, hey, speaking of creams, I had to wear some sunscreen on Saturday because I went to the St. Louis Cinco de Mayo festival, which is always fun. Expert level segue.
Wow.
Always. It's my favorite street festival in St. Louis, and it was no disappointment this year. It is by far the most diverse street festival in St. Louis, and they do a lot of fun stuff like.
So you're protesting it, right? Like. Not on my yard.
Yeah, it's a big NIMBY.
Not on my lawn. Is that what people say? Yeah.
Not in my backyard. I'm a NIMBY for cultural diversity.
Mexican heritage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, they have like wrestling and stuff. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I've always loved Cherokee. Been going there for a long time. And the neighborhood really pops during this festival.
Wow.
Got some quesadilla, which is
hell yeah.
We've talked a lot about on this show.
Yep.
And there's a parade that goes every year, and it's one of my favorite things because anybody can participate in the parade. So you just get like absolute insanity just walking down the street. And I think we talked about it last year, but I think we really cemented the plans this year. And next year, our group here, we're going to try to get a parade in the float.
Oh, that sounds fun. I feel like with all the kids and everything, that'd be a blast. Throw out candy to people. People like that.
Yeah, one group went around throwing cabbage and lettuce at people, which was hilarious. I think a great move. So we're talking about like, what our version of that, but also throwing out candy because, but it was there are people who do bike stunts at this thing.
Cool.
Like, there's this guy who has a big like half circle attached to his bike that he is strapped into, and he basically does a front roll on his bike.
I've seen this before.
Yeah, it was awesome. However, there was another guy who was trying to do, he was trying to like get and stand up on his bike, and the bike hit a piece of cabbage and he fell pretty hard, but he was okay. But
yeah, just bone popped out of the skin.
Yeah.
Mild concussion. Yeah, that's all fine.
Yeah, totally normal stuff. But yeah, if you're in St. Louis and you didn't go this year, I highly recommend next year. Check out the Cinco de Mayo festival. It's a ton of fun. I also this week participated in the Millennial Calling. It was a real mecca here in St. Louis for millennials when Death Cab for Cutie and the Postal Service played at Chaffetz Arena. I believe you saw this tour when it came through Denver too, right?
Yeah, so funny. Like St. Louis and Denver aren't that far apart. I saw this tour like months ago. Like in the dead of winter. So funny that it finally came through. But yeah, I saw it. It was a great show. I'm not really a Death Cab fan, but I am a big Postal Service fan.
Yeah,
and it was happening.
Yeah,
it was the place to be, if you ask me.
Babysitters and grandparents around the region were excited for the extra work on a Tuesday night here in St. Louis. There's we were joking. It's of all the shows happening in St. Louis, this is the most everyone is worrying about work the next day job in our show in St. Louis. So a whole bunch of people in their mid to late 30s. But it was a great set. I do love Death Cab. They were a band that was very, very important to me for quite a long time. Haven't really stuck with it that much over the last few years, but they played the entirety of Transatlanticism, which is a great album. And then the Postal Service, all time for me, a thing that I never really thought I'd see live because it's not really a band. But obviously,
it's more like a happening,
Oh, it's a scene, my dude. But it was great.
Yeah.
Ran into Pat. You remember Pat? He was at the show, and
hey, Pat.
Yeah, he said he listens to the show. So I thought,
hey, Pat! Wow.
So it's great to see him. Shout out to Pat, and he said one of the saddest things I've heard in a long time, which is that he thinks watching the Cardinals right now probably feels much like it was watching the Cubs in the 90s.
Yeah. Wow.
I threw up in my mouth and then all over the floor of Chaffetz Arena, and it was a whole scene. But
that's evocative. Okay.
Yeah, it was not a great comparison. But what a segue, another segue into I think the Cardinal topics of the day. We got a lot to
pack show today.
We got a pack show, Dan, and I know the mood is down. I think it's fair to say.
Bunch of belly aching online. But that's all I see. Rub some dirt on it.
And I think it's fair. The vibe is down right now.
No, it's fair. It is fair,
I think we're going to talk about that a little bit.
But I've had it with the belly aching.
Come on. Back in my day.
Yeah. Both ways. Up the hill.
Both ways. We played every game with 2 fractured arms.
Oh, man. Cannot believe it broke.
I know. So but I think we'll try to spin this around and see where this could, come back together. But obviously the big news, the sad news, this was happening while I was at the show last night.
You take your eye off the wheel for 1 second.
Seriously,
Look what happens.
Willson Contreras, apparently in a guided effort by the St. Louis Cardinals, to increase low strikes, had been guided to maybe get a little closer into the box and aim for those lower strikes, a little bit more work on his framing. I think he'd been making a lot of defensive improvements this year. And catches a full swing from JD Martinez is almost immediately like screaming in pain. And we learned also almost immediately, probably very, very clear in the x-rays if they're able to announce it like a half hour after it happened at the game. If even that, he had fractured his wrist. And timeline for return is 6 to 8 weeks. And I think the reality is, though, for an injury like this, he may be back in 6 to 8 weeks, but it's not uncommon for someone with a horrible wrist injury to take even longer to fully get back to at least offensively to the way they were before.
I'd be more worried about defense because he's catching with that left arm.
Yeah.
And you get a Ryan Helsley fastball coming at 101. I would much rather swing a bat than catch that fastball with healing
with
from a broken arm. So it kind of just sucks. I mean, it's a really bad situation.
Yeah, it's near worst case scenario for this team is especially when you take into consideration the current struggles around the offense, and he's been the best player, the most consistent offensively on the team.
Yeah.
And he's out for at least 6 to 8 weeks. And I think what we're both saying is whether it's offensively or behind the plate, I'd be really surprised if we're getting like full strength Willson Contreras back anytime soon, even in that time frame. I think maybe by August or September, hopefully, but different people recover at different paces and whatnot, but it's pretty brutal. Fortunately it's not like an end of season sort of thing, but it's about as close to that as you can get with this type of injury. So not great. How are you feeling, Ben?
Yeah, I think, it's probably the hardest position to replace on the Cardinals. Ivan Herrera has kind of taken a step back offensively from his super hot start. I think that you feel relatively good about Pages and Herrera behind the plate, defensively, calling games and whatnot. But you look at what Willson was doing, and it's been a bad year. But you look at what Willson was doing, and Willson currently is on pace for like a slightly over 10 WAR season. He is on pace to have his best offensive year of his career. He is on pace to have his best defensive season of his career. Everything. I don't think that he would have put up a 10 WAR season had he been healthy. But I
hard to do that as a DH/catcher.
Hard to do that at any role at any time in the history of baseball. It's very difficult. And I don't think he would have done that. But his previous career high is 3.4 FWAR. It seemed likely that he was going to beat that this year, and that would put him, an all-star conversation and maybe even MVP conversation. So you're talking about losing a all-star catcher at the very least, who took a big step forward defensively, at least in his time with the Cardinals. And not only that, but he's the only real player that is any type of threat in the lineup right now. He's walking at a better clip than he's ever walked. He's just had a really, really great start to the season, no matter how you slice it. And even if you have all the confidence in the world in Ivan Herrera, it's a step down. And I think this happening in the middle of a huge skid where the Cardinals have lost against two mediocre teams is
mediocre, maybe giving them too much credit.
It really may. The Mets are not good.
The Mets are, I think, a mediocre team, but
they're fine.
Yeah.
The White Sox are bad. The Cardinals should be better than the Mets.
Yes.
But when the entire team has like a combined 570 OPS, you can't really embarrass anyone. So this is just how it's been. So yeah, this is, I would say it's devastating. I do think like if the team plays the way that it should play, if it plays to the projections, then this team can be down a all-star level hitter and still have a competitive offense. It's really, really hard to say that right now when the team hasn't been doing it for a little over a month at this point. But I'm filled with emotions. When that happened last night, and man, the way that he reacted to it, you could knew right immediately, because he's a tough son of a bitch. Like, you knew immediately.
Even the way he got up and sort of walked away to sit down, you could tell he's like trying to control it, and then he had to like sit down. I need to scream.
I'm not going to try to claim that I've ever had an injury like getting slapped on the arm by a JD Martinez A swing. Like, I cannot imagine how bad that hurt. And also just makes me think like how dangerous swinging a baseball bat is, because it shattered a very well put together man's arm immediately
on like a backswing,
No, it was the forward swing. That was misreported by Brad Thompson over and over again on the game. I don't understand why, but it was clearly as part of the beginning of the swing. But I've had that happen. I've had injuries where you get so shaken up, you're just like walking around, looking. Maybe you're yelling. Maybe you want to cry. Maybe you want to. I don't know. But you're like that level of pain. Oh, I feel bad for the guy.
I'm assuming for you, it was like when you take a bite of pizza and the cheese slides off and burns the top of that burns your chin, or like you take a bite of your burrito and it all falls out the other side.
Now that one is bad.
That feels like an injury for you.
I'm a sick little freak. I like when the pizza burns the roof of my mouth. No, I have a very specific ski injury in mind that I won't go into detail.
Sure,
but it's slightly cooler than your burrito falling out of the back.
Yeah, not great. Although Willson is such a cool dude. I read, I'm going to paraphrase here, but apparently Ivan Herrera was one of the first people to kind of go into the room where Contreras was after the testing and, asked him, how's it going? And Contreras said, it's not good, not looking good or something like that. And apparently Herrera, he dropped his head and looked down and was very sad, which, I think is cool. They've obviously, have some good mutual respect and have worked together a lot at this point. And apparently Willson said like, no, don't put your head down. Now's your time. I need you to pick me up. Like, let's go out there and get it or something like that. Like just one of those like natural born leader things that people, say that is, I think really, really cool and part of the overall package that Contreras brings to the plate. And hopefully, these types of injuries, I expect he'll probably be in the dugout losing his mind, hopefully at positive stuff over the next couple months.
Right.
But yeah, big loss.
And I do think I think he has a great point. And let's focus on why this isn't the absolute end of the world. And that is because Ivan Herrera did take a massive step forward offensively last year. We've seen him have that in spits and spurts this season. And Pedro Pages is a really, really well-regarded defensive catcher. So you can still kind of run the game of Pages being your defensive catcher, Ivan Herrera maybe taking some times at DH, maybe somebody else is DHing. This doesn't absolutely hamstring the team. The Cardinals have personnel to fill in, but again, this guy was on an all-star track this season. Probably would have been the starting catcher for the National League All-Star team.
His little brother's having a pretty good season too, but if not the starter, he would have been there with him. And I think Willson is probably leading William in a lot of the. I saw some stat block of him that he's leading in almost every offensive category as a catcher.
And defensively, Willson is a much better defensive catcher. But either way, So did you see that there was apparently JD Martinez had 2 catcher interference calls on William Contreras with the Dodgers last year?
No, but
just a weird thing.
I was reading a lot about that, and apparently, I guess this isn't necessarily a new thing, but it's maybe getting even worse. Is that players are really trying to get in the back of the box right now? And I was even reading that, and again, I think this has been going for a while, so it's not like it's a this year or even the last few years thing, but it's like a common thing for players to try to fuck up the back line of the box, so that the ump can't really see that you're that far back, and you can even steal an inch or so.
I mean, I've been watching baseball for over 20 years. I have never seen an umpire ask a hitter to move up in the box and I've definitely seen feet on the line, outside of the line. But I've never seen an umpire ask a player to move up. So and I think they're pretty loose with that.
And I think it's the catcher's responsibility to adjust and take a step back too, so I think it's easy to get mad at like a JD Martinez or whoever in this situation, but I think this one is unfortunately kind of on Willson and sticking his arm out there.
Okay, people should be mad about Marcell Ozuna. I don't know if you saw, but he just whacked another catcher in the head with his backswing earlier this week. People should be mad about that because he's an idiot and he does it over and over and over again, and he can make an adjustment. What JD Martinez did was 100% Willson Contreras' fault, and it just sucks.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, injuries are going to happen. We weren't going to go this year without there being any major injuries. This one is obviously a massive bummer, but as you outlined, depending on how Herrera and Pages play, maybe the drop off won't be too terrible, at least at the catcher position. I do wonder if this expedites Jordan Walker's return to AAA or to MLB from AAA, considering there's now a big fat opening at DH if we want him there, which personally I would love. I'd love to see him just come in and play full time at the DH position and just take all of his at bats against major league pitching. I saw he got a hit the other day at 104, but it was he hit 104 miles per hour like straight down, and just it was hit so hard it chopped right up the middle. But still good to see him hitting the ball really hard.
Yeah, I think I would like to see. I want to talk about urgency from the front office a little bit later, but I think as the team is currently constructed, what I would like to see is Brendan Donovan moving out of left field, picking up more spots in DH, maybe splitting time with Burley there, and maybe splitting time with Nolan Gorman there a little bit more too, and having Jordan Walker take over in left or right field. I'm really happy with Lars Nootbaar's playing the outfield with him coming back, and I don't think we talk about it enough, but how good has Michael Ciani been defensively in center field? And I think I don't think Brendan Donovan is a good outfielder. So getting him back on the infield, getting him maybe a start at short, a start at second, a start at third. I think that makes a lot more sense. And sticking Jordan Walker, who I believe has improved. I'm sure that he'll come up and make some boneheaded plays, but I think he's a much better outfielder, and that would be the alignment I would prefer to see. Although credit where credit is due, Brendan Donovan did have a really nice throw earlier this week. So
he's
just not great in the outfield.
He's not gonna, he's never gonna like defensively. I don't think he ever is. A gold glove at really any position. I mean, he's pretty good at second base, but I don't, he's not that, there are better options even on the Cardinals defensively, but he just does everything at least good, or at least league average.
Just get him out of the outfield. That would be my pick if I'm the czar.
Czar Samorka.
Oh, sounds pretty good.
They don't get any ideas.
Oh my God.
Full finger wag on that one too.
Yeah, that was stupid.
So we got another answer too on what to do with a particular non-productive.
What do you do with a drunken sailor?
Yes. What do we do with the drunken sailor? That is Giovanni Gallegos, otherwise known as Giovanni Dude Waffles. He has been struck with the plague. You remember this last year? The plague. That was the shoulder impingement.
Oh, yeah.
People are impinged left and right.
Yeah.
Yes, his shoulder is quite impinged indeed, and he has been placed on the 15-day IL.
My shoulder might be impinged. I think I feel a little impinged. Yeah.
I think, isn't that what a shoulder does? Is it impinges?
I don't actually believe that impingement is a real word. I think that big MLB is shoving this down our throats and we're just eating it up like sheep.
I think that probably
like pigs eating slop.
Like I think like the Mets probably forgot the fake word that everyone was using, and they were like, we'll put him on the IL with shoulder impingement. Is it an impingement? Yeah, lock it. Go ahead and type in impingement, and then they got busted. So everyone else is laughing. No, it's impingement, you fools.
You fools.
So Gallegos, Dude Waffles is on the IL 15-day with an impingement.
Yeah.
I think it's good. Get him out of there. Give him a chance to.
We got to unpinge it first.
You got to unimpinge it. You've got to do you repinge?
I think you repinge it. It's like you kind of have to push it in. You pinch it deeper, and then you can pull it out, kind of like like one of those finger traps.
Yeah. So they got to repinge it, and then he can maybe spend some time on a rehab assignment until he can get it right and come back, because it's obvious that it's just not working right now. But he has a track record to make you think that it's not just suddenly done, right? I mean, I know relievers live and die on the small sample size, but he's been one of the best in baseball for quite a while. So this collapse, maybe there is something. Maybe there's some sort of thing going on with his shoulder, and this will really help. But
his
I think it's
fastball velo has been a tick down. So maybe there's a conditioning issue. Maybe there's a slight injury. It's I don't know, but I like he was kind of being protected as far as how he was being deployed anyway. So it shouldn't really affect the team, and I think it makes sense. And again, hopefully he gets unpinged and everything kind of rocks back.
It is, and they've called up now Roycroft. Roycroft. What's the bad guy in Sherlock?
I don't know.
It's like some.
Are there many bad guys in Sherlock?
Yeah, there's many bad guys, but it's like, well, there's Moriarty. What am I thinking of? I feel like there's a Roycroft in Sherlock.
Okay.
If you know what I'm talking about, let me know.
Are you talking about the TV show?
Maybe. I don't know what I'm talking about. Let's move on.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah. God. So he's up. What do you know about Roycroft?
He's huge.
Yeah.
He's a big old so-and-so. He's 6'8", 230. He throws the ball hard, and he's fine. He gave up a huge bomb last night. But relievers are relievers. I'm not going to get too high or too low on a call-up of a late blooming relief pitcher who's up for reasons that I don't fully agree with. But yeah, I don't know. He should be fine. He struck out a couple of guys. The fastball slider combo looked pretty good last night. Yeah, whatever. He's your second to last lever that you pull in the bullpen. I would rather watch him throw than Michael King. So
King.
That's my scouting report. Oh yeah, sorry. Michael King would be fun. John King. Sorry.
You got to trade a Juan Soto to get a Michael King.
Right.
Mycroft Holmes is Sherlock Holmes' brother.
I don't care.
Mycroft.
That's his first name?
Mycroft Holmes.
All right.
So.
Well, you were totally right on that. You nailed it. That was worth it. Yeah.
Bigger news. The Cardinals activated center fielder Dylan Carlson.
Yeah. That's
How do you feel
great.
about
that? Yeah, it's been great. Obviously, I'm happy to have him back. They seem to be protecting him. I don't fully understand that. Are they protecting him or are they liking Ciani? It's kind of hard to tell.
Why not both?
Yeah.
Ease him back in. Currently Sporting somehow has managed in his 3 games back to accrue negative 0.3 WAR with a negative 100 WRC plus, which of course it's 8 plate appearances.
Yeah.
But pretty incredible. Negative 100.
I don't know. Ciani's been hitting the ball a little bit this past week. I don't think the Cardinals should get overly excited about that really limited performance either. I think Dill Carl's the guy. I expect him to start more, but we're kind of at the point right now where I try anything. Have somebody different come in and hit. The current method isn't working. So I don't know, put Dylan at the front, put Dylan in center, put him in the lineup somewhere.
Yeah.
But it is nice to have him back overall.
Well, we have entered the Jose Fermin leadoff era of the St. Louis Cardinals.
They like his bat, Nate.
Yeah. I mean, everything has been so ineffective. Why not?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure I'm not the first person to say this, but I was kind of thinking about this last night. Why don't you put Goldie at leadoff? Let's flip it up a little bit. Have him just focus on getting on base.
Yeah.
Change what you are doing. I know Wednesday's game, he is sitting down in lieu of Burleson, playing first base. Move him up in the lineup. Move him down in the lineup. Just keep changing things until something clicks. This team needs to shake itself into being competitive.
Do you think it's finally time to fire Jeff Albert?
Wherever he is, I hope he's rolling over in his grave right now.
Ooh, pretty sure he's happy and healthy somewhere else right now.
Nope, he died years ago.
Well, isn't he with the Mets?
No, he is I think the hitting coordinator for the Mets, organizationally.
Yeah. Going well for them over there too.
Yeah. His stink, his slug-like slime, ruining two great franchises.
Get him! Remember when we got him? We got his ass
when we kicked. Yes.
Yeah.
This podcast personally kicked him out of his own job. The podcasts were too mean to me. I'm getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Mm-hmm.
Fuck off.
He's the one who's wrong.
Yeah. Bullying works. Bring back bullying.
Let's bring back bullying.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah.
I see all these MLB commercials that says, "Oh, mental health is important. No, we all fight the same fight. We should all be on the." You know what? Let's bully.
Let's break some arms.
Do you think? Oh, JD Martinez, ultimate bully.
He is a bully.
Wow.
He does seem like a bully.
He seems very soft-spoken and nice. Everybody's always like, yeah, JD comes to the team and he runs the hitters meetings and he's really kind and shares his time.
That's bully shit.
Got him. Yeah, you're right.
Maybe like Teddy Roosevelt style bully.
Bully. Oh, yeah. The big stick.
Oh man, we're getting dangerously close, I think, to bringing bird facts back to this podcast.
I'm losing it, Nate. I am after this week. You know what? I'm so trying to just change shit up right now and make something happen. I just watched the Mets broadcast last night because I thought, oh, it's different. Maybe, I don't know, maybe. And then, the Cardinals score and I'm like, hey, maybe I'm onto something.
Maybe you're onto
something. And then
Willson
Contreras gets his arm chopped off. And here we are.
Yeah, it's a good thing they're using bats and not swords. You know what I mean?
Man, he'd be
toast.
A whale of trouble. Whale of trouble?
He'd be in a whale of trouble.
A lot of
trouble? Like Pinocchio.
Yeah. Nailed it.
Wow.
Choose my words carefully.
We're just moving through this news because I don't want to sit on the sadness too much. So, and there is a lot of news. What do we got next, Hambone? We've got
Cardinals sent DH Matt Carpenter on a rehab assignment with the Memphis Redbirds. If you saw, he hit a bomb off of a left-handed pitcher. And this is kind of what I'm talking about. Like, I don't actually think MCarp is going to come in and save the season for the Cardinals, but a different voice saying different things, maybe taking a couple ABs, anything. They just, there's the funk that is on the team right now needs to be Swiffered up or Febrezed away or cascaded away or tided away.
Swiffer the funk.
Yeah. And so this is good news. Obviously he was brought in for his ex-leadership stats and all that stuff. So maybe he can come in and deliver a speech and Jason Hayward us all the way into the playoffs or something. I don't know.
I mean, in his short amount of time he's with us, he was taking some competitive at-bats. So,
he was.
And there's now a big spot open at DH. So,
and the team has been such shit this year that how would it detract from the offensive performance that we've been watching?
Yeah. It would not be the first time a goofy legacy signing turns out to be critical to an individual year's success.
If he can OPS plus over 60, he is a net win for this current offense.
Not great, Hambone. If he could just be slightly below league average, it'd be quite the boon for this offense.
It really would.
Yeah. Well, on the other side of the ball, we were getting at this last week as well. But Steven Matz now on the IL as well. They went through and we had a bullpen start led mostly by Liberator. Obviously we can't rely on bullpen starts for very long. You and I both we're projecting Roberse as the fill-in starter. Yep. We've not gotten that yet. So where do you see the team going?
I mean, I think they kind of played their hand, right? By calling up Roycroft, they bolstered the bullpen. And by stretching out Libby, I think he threw mid-40s pitches.
Yeah.
And I think he performed pretty well. You like what you saw there. I think that's probably the route they're going to go. I think that if, Mo were to be on this show right now, which obviously pops in from time to time, he would say something to the effect of we don't want to interrupt Sam Roberse's development. And I think at this point in time, Liberatore is ultimately the best option, and he's on the 26-man. And,
calling him the best
bullshit that he does.
Calling him the best option is far too committal from John Mozeliak.
Right.
It'd be more like, well, here, I'll let him say it for himself, of course. We think he gives us a competitive chance at possibly maybe succeeding in a baseball game. Yeah. And, that's really, when you think about it, that's what we're trying to do as a team is increase our odds of potentially might be having success.
So, John, are you saying that you'd like to win the next ball game?
Well, let's not get ahead of ourselves here.
Okay, that's what I thought. Piece of shit. But, that's probably the path.
Yeah.
I think, we talked about the idea of being a little bit more desperate for wins last week, and I'm still in that camp. I think go pull on one of these guys in the minors who's having success. That being said, I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth right now. Like Libby, I like Libby, and I want him to be good. And if this can work now, holy cow, that would be amazing. If he could actually turn into what we thought he was going to turn into. Wow, what a time to do it! What a year to do it! The Cardinals could not need it more. It's hard to say that after what did he throw 3 or 4 innings? What was something like that? I think it was maybe 4.
3. I think it was he was pulled in the 4th inning, if I remember correctly. So we're deep in small sample size with him right now. 20 innings pitched this season, but the results have been good. He's currently rocking a 2.7 ERA with an expected ERA of 3.5. And the underlying numbers mostly support that. His FIP is 3.49 and his xFIP is 4.04, which if you're keeping track here would make him one of the best starters on the team, basically after Sonny Gray. So, I've been a big fan of Liberatore for a while, and I've been saying I'd love to see him get an extended shot at the rotation. With the way things went this season, it did not start that way. But while I agree with you and what we spoke about last year, I'd love to see one of the newer guys get a shot. But if the other option is Liberatore, I'm also fine with that. I'm kind of like Liberatore or Roberse are 2 options I'm happy with. If it had been like a Palante or something like that, I would have been pretty disappointed. But going to one of these guys where we still believe have a much higher ceiling, I think is worthwhile. So I suspect he'll get another start or 2, and we'll see where it goes.
And I think what you just said is the most important part of it is that Matthew Liberatore, there's a universe in which he is the second best starter on this 2024 club because of the pedigree and just the stuff. And if he could put it together, you could see him leapfrogging a lot of guys other than Sonny Gray in the rotation. And, when your back's against the wall, I guess you try it.
Of course, that's been the thing with Liberatore for multiple years now. So, what are the odds that he breaks out right now versus the other chances he had? Who knows? Seems unlikely, but also he's still very, very young. And again, was at one point, it's been quite a while at this point though, but it was at one point one of the top pitching prospects in baseball.
But the stuff is there. The fastball looks really good this year.
And development is not on a linear curve. Right. So, especially pitching. I mean, it's not uncommon for it to take a couple of years in the league for people to even get to league average.
I don't think this is going to happen, but you look at Corbin Burns. Corbin Burns just tilted his fastball like 6 degrees, turned it into a cutter, and then won a Cy Young. Like, it could be trying to be optimistic here, of course, it could be something that simple. It could be just tilting the rotation on a fastball.
Looking under the hood at his StatCast, his breaking ball run value is currently in the 94th percentile.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So what kind of car would you say Matthew Liberatore is if you're looking under the hood?
I'm thinking he's like a Jetta. You know what I mean?
I was going to say a Golf. That's very funny. Okay. We're aligned. We're aligned. Okay.
Nice.
Right. Nailed it.
Okay.
He's definitely German made.
Definitely German made.
Definitely Volkswagen. Okay, cool.
All right. So that's all there is for transactions and movements. So where do we go from here? Ben, this is arguably the worst week we've had of the season.
Yeah.
Between the injuries or the injury, specifically Contreras, and then losing 2 of 3 against the White Sox, losing 2 of 3, and we don't know about the third game as we currently sit in rain delay against the Mets. Last week you and I spoke about this being a week for the team. This will be a week that gives us a hint of what the future might be like. And worst case scenario, basically. So where do we go from here?
Yeah. Well, have we considered this name? Is it possible that, the Cardinals decline and our show, those timelines really line up nicely? Like they had a rough year, although Pujols picked them out of it our first year, bringing back the show. Last year was what it was. And then, we're still here and the Cardinals are still doing poorly. So is it possible we're the problem?
No.
Okay. So
no, I think it's mostly, if I had to diagnose it, Ben, I don't think it's us. I think it's probably poor performance on the field, bolstered by an overarching struggle to maintain a strong developmental pipeline.
Wow, that was a good answer. You should host a podcast. Okay,
but it might be us.
It's really early. And I know everyone is tired of hearing that. The internet is definitely tired of hearing that. I know that the internet believes that everybody should be fired and murdered, and their families drug out into the streets and their heads chopped off, and so on and so forth. I do think it's important to say that there are still 5 months of baseball remaining. I posted the standings on our outline because I think it's important to look at that. The Cardinals, while it looks bad, they're well below 500. They are only 6.5 games back in the Central. That is a couple of weeks of good baseball.
Yeah.
And I think that is the most important thing to focus on right now, is that it actually is still early. It's very unlikely that the offense is going to perform this poorly for the next 5 months. A stat that I think the Cardinals must turn around to get this shit straightened out is the home run. What should we call it? Not home run imbalance, the home run.
Imbalance kind of works. You're talking about the amount we're giving up versus hitting.
Yeah. So the Cardinals have hit the second least homers in baseball, 26. You can probably easily guess the White Sox are the only team that has been worse than them.
Cool.
And they have allowed the 8th most home runs at 42. So obviously a pretty big delta in between those two numbers. And I think, or from my personal point of view on this team, I think that is the biggest problem, is that they're just getting out homered. And there's a lot of other little things in between the pitching and the hitting. But even if the Cardinals were matching the home runs that they're giving up, this team looks a lot better and is much closer to a 500 team. So I think it's the offense needs to start hitting the ball over the wall like today. And maybe the Heat in St. Louis will help them out. Maybe bringing Jordan Walker back up will help them out. I think Newt's got a lot more home runs in him. Obviously, the Goldie and Arenado of it all.
Burleson had another one last night. So, you called pretty hard the Burleson breakout last week. We named our episode after it.
I'm here for it. I know he hasn't had the best luck since we talked about that, but I am still, I'm putting my finger down, Nate. Oh. I'm drawing a line in the sand. Okay.
Wow.
I just think he has taken a step forward. And I think it's pretty obvious. So those things need to change. Another thing that needs to change is Miles. The underlying numbers on Miles Michaelis suggest that he is having pretty bad luck this year. His xFIP compared to his ERA, it's about 2.5 runs of difference there, which is like double Sonny Gray's entire ERA right now. It's pretty bad. He is also giving up home runs at a ridiculous rate. He is right now at 1.71 home runs per 9. It puts him at 7th in MLB as far as what he's giving up. And this is a guy who lives on the ground, weak contact. Yeah. So the question is Miles cooked, or is this a really bad first month of baseball and he's going to straighten things out? And I think, I'm not saying that the team goes as Miles goes, but he is the biggest problem. And I think, or the easiest name to point at when you're complaining about the home run imbalance issue that the Cardinals are having right now.
Yeah. And it is difficult too, because it's not like we have a lot of options to point to after him. You know, like, what do? You say, okay, we're going to skip Miles for a turn in the rotation. It's like, but for who? Right. I guess if Libby really does stick, which is, again, we're very optimistic about it, but it is a big if, then I guess you could say, okay, we'll bring Reverse up also.
Right.
And then you skip Miles for a turn, or maybe someone sneaks down and impinges his shoulder to get him an opportunity at some rehab starts or something. But yeah, I mean, he's been a central part of the rotation for multiple years now. I do think it's interesting that despite this failure, he is still positive in Fangraphs WAR, which just goes to show, innings, they're valuable just getting there, even if you're giving up dingers. And also, like, the XFIP stuff and all that, like, his repertoire is a very...
Say that again for me?
Repertoire.
Is that how you say it?
Repertoire. Repertoire. Well, now I don't know.
Repertoire. Pitch mix.
Thank you. His pitch mix is the type that
spark joy.
Is quite dingable when it's not working.
Should we stop down? Do you want to retake that whole segment?
Mix is quite dingable.
Jesus. Okay.
Let me look down the barrel of the camera.
Yeah.
The pitch mix is quite dingable.
What are you trying to say, Nate?
I think he's got a low margin for error with with the way in which he approaches the plate, and it's turns out like 94 with little break is easy to take over the wall. So I don't know. I mean, that he's getting older. It's the same thing with like Goldschmidt. Is it slow start? Is it the signs of, real regression? Last year, though, the final results from a WAR perspective were pretty good. This kind of feels like how he was last year, too.
Yeah, it does.
It's like you're almost always going to get 6 or 7 innings out of him.
Yeah.
But it might be also he gave up 6 runs during that, or maybe 3, but they're keeping him in no matter what.
Yeah, his so it's funny you say that. I'm going to read off some StatCast numbers from last year and this year, 23 to 24. Last year, his average launch angle was exactly 15 degrees. Same thing this year, exactly 15 degrees. His barrel rate that he gave up last year was almost 10%. And right now it is almost 8.5%. And his hard hit rate, 42, almost 43 last year and almost 46% this year.
Yeah.
In his career, his hard hit percentage had been closer to 35%. So, yeah, you might be right. This might be the new Miles. And, that kind of leads me to my next thought is, if you're the front office, what does urgency look like right now? Or we've already seen a trade or two happen in baseball, which is shocking in its own right.
Yeah.
But does urgency look like a trade happening, a promotion happening? What do you think? And I guess answer this however you want. What should the Cardinals do / what are they going to do to show some level of urgency that the team needs help now?
Yeah, it's a tricky one because you don't have a lot of options at this stage in the season. The you mentioned it. We're gonna dig in a little bit more on it later, but the Arias trade that the Padres just pulled off. To me, that is a really good definition of showing urgency. The Padres have, while the results haven't been quite there, and it is a bit of an argument of avoiding rash and insane moves, but you cannot argue that the Padres have not shown urgency pretty regularly to put together a winning club. And they just did a massive early season trade with a team that was surprisingly out of it. And so we do know there are a fair amount of teams that are already out of it. They're done. And with the right offer, though it's rare, you could get someone from a bunch of teams right now. Now, what's the cost? I haven't really dug in too much of that just yet, but I'm certain there's some available pitching, some arms out there that could help shore up the rotation. I don't know as much about bats. Or the Padres might have just went and got one of the best available options. But I think that would be, to me, the best example of really showing urgency would be going out of your comfort zone and truly doing something that we almost never see them do. Outside of that, I guess it's got to be something like going to one of your, like, let's see Sajaci up here. Let's see Roberse up here. Something like that, just to mix it up.
Yeah, I think Sajaci is a really interesting name. I was just kind of, pontificating on who could the Cardinals potentially trade for. And I'm going to come a little out of left field. I'm curious what you think of this idea. But going straight up DH route is kind of interesting to me. I don't think that this solves the Cardinals' long-term problems. I do really expect their offense to come back, but I wonder how expensive it would be to get an Eloy Jimenez for the St. Louis Cardinals. Is Brent Rooker available? I mean, you don't think the A's are looking
now the A's are in the midst of a playoff run.
Farly more competitive than the Cardinals are, but do they, the A's have, how they're ran. Everybody knows how they're ran. And Brent Rooker is somebody who provides not a ton of value, but is a very good power hitter. And he's 29 years old. Could the Cardinals steal him away from that team?
Yeah,
I think, and it's really easy to just look at the White Sox. Michael Kopech is a candidate for being traded. And, I don't know how much he actually helps the Cardinals. Looking through Miami, like maybe Jake Berger, bring him home would be interesting. I'm kind of, and maybe it's because I'm spiraling a little bit today after the Contreras news and how bad the last week was, but I'm kind of the mood that just making a change, bringing in a different voice, like a Brent Rooker, who's known as a great clubhouse guy, a great personality guy, and can hit the ball over the wall. Something like that, I think, would make a lot of sense. That being said, I do think the biggest need would be on the pitching side. Maybe there's some combo. Again, I don't think this is going to happen. I would place no money on this because the Cardinals have shown zero willingness to do anything like this in the past. But bringing up a Tink Hence and trading for a Eloy Jimenez, does that turn this team around? I don't know.
Now this guy has struggled with injury issues, and he is out still for a few more weeks. But Luis Robert from the White Sox.
Oh my God! If the Cardinals ended up having Luis Robert after all of this,
after all that, it
would be incredible. That would be a ton of fun. Tommy Pham is definitely a trade candidate. What if we bring Tommy Pham home to light a fire?
He's gonna stab this run differential. Give it a slap.
He got stabbed, Nate. That is.
Oh yeah.
You're misrepresenting that story.
He's gonna slap the run differential.
That's more his style. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he would not come back to the part of. I think his whole revenge tour has been partly because of how he feels he was treated by the Cardinals.
I assume him and Mozeliak are not super tight. That being said, he doesn't get to choose where he goes. He doesn't have 5 and 10 or anything like that. So
it's a great point.
I don't know. Maybe an angry Tommy Pham would be a good ad.
Yeah. I mean, I'm expecting none of this. And then in July, we maybe get a couple trades for some bullpen arms.
Yeah. Yeah, you're probably right.
But yeah, I mean, it's dark times right now. But as you repeated and we've repeated, over and over. It's still early enough that any of this could change. And, the pitching has been good enough that we really just need a couple of these guys on the offense to return to form and things start looking a lot better. Even Michaelis, we should be able to win a game where he goes 6 innings and gives up 5, but they've not been right now.
No, the Cardinals offense is absolutely terrible. It is shocking how bad it is. When you look at the staff, the projections, and the actual results, it is wild.
Yeah. Well, anything else you want to talk about specific to the Cardinals before we move on?
Nope.
Okay. Well, we want to talk about the upcoming series, a big series, and some stuff from around the league. But before we do that, we want to remind our listeners that this show is listener supported on Patreon, patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. Subscribers at any level get access to a couple things. First and foremost, they get access to the Bird Scored. It's our private Discord server. Tweet, y'all. We're having a good time in there. I've said it pretty much every week now for a while. It's kind of become the baseball social media replacement for me. And we've got a really cool group of people in there. We had shout out to patron Ryan. He was our on the ground chicken sandwich correspondent at the game on Sunday. Him and his wife went and got a truly absurd looking sandwich from Big Shack, the chicken spot that we've talked a lot about on the show. I think they ate partly for us, but we know it was for themselves too. And we were getting pictures and a detailed rating of each component, and it was a lot of fun. So thanks to Ryan for providing that sort of content.
I do feel like the redness of the donut was a little over the top. I think the donut could have been normal donut colored.
Yeah. Well, when I go there in a couple of weeks, I'll be sure to let them know your opinion.
Thank you.
But yeah, we're talking about the games, talking about the news, both with the Cardinals and around the league. And it's just been a lot of fun. So you get access to that. And then also you typically get access to early episodes. I've been pretty good at getting them out like on Wednesday. And then they come out obviously Thursday in the middle of the night for the regular feed. So if you want to get a little bit early, you can get in on the Patreon. Again, that's patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. And if you subscribe at any of the higher levels, you also get a free t-shirt from our t-shirt catalog. And there's some really cool ones. I went at Cinco de Mayo. I was with a friend of the show, Brandon, and he was wearing his I Enjoy Talking About Birds shirt.
Let's go.
And he got a lot of comments. Of course, none of them related to the podcast, which is my favorite thing about that shirt. Mostly related to birds. A woman in the parade pointed at him and said, "I love talking about birds too." And I've never been more convinced that it was not about our show.
Wow.
And he had a dude come up to him, and I'm pretty sure utilizing the word birds as a slang for women, which is
damn it.
Well, if we knew that was a potential outcome because friend of the show Akira, who's in England, where that slang is way more common over there, had mentioned that, but I didn't expect to get it as much here in the States. But anyway, these shirts, they're conversation pieces.
If you want to be stopped in the stranger while you're in the streets, go to talkingaboutbirds.com.
Yes. And anyway, patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. And what also helps is leaving a review on your favorite podcast platform. So we really appreciate those who have taken the couple minutes to do that as well. Hambone, where else can people find us online?
Yes, you can follow us on Twitter at Talk About Birds. We're on Instagram at Talking About Birds. We got a TikTok. Check us out on TikTok. The show's available on Spotify and YouTube if you prefer to listen there. You can email us any questions, thoughts, concerns, criticisms to talkaboutbirds@gmail.com. You can find all of that information, t-shirts, Patreon, blah, 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 everything at talkingaboutbirds.com. And like Nate said at the top, you can call us and leave a voicemail or send us a text message to 848-48-BIRDS. That's 848-482-4737.
It's a great phone number. People are saying it's the best phone number. Everyone's telling me.
So stupid.
It's the best phone number. All right,
You're lucky we record these remotely. I want to fight you.
People are telling me it's the best phone number.
All right.
The Cardinals have a big series coming up. The last we met the Milwaukee Brewers, it was not great.
Yeah.
They swept us in 3. So what could be better than a 4-game series against the Brewers? I love a good 4-game series, though. You really get to see everything.
The whole team is going to be out there on the field. Oh, boy.
The whole team.
They're all on display.
Mm-hmm.
And I love when the boys are on display.
We love it, don't we, folks? So, yeah, 4 games. What do we have to say about the Brewers that we haven't said so far? They are currently in first place.
Yeah.
Although, as it says right now, they tied with the Cubs. So this is a big opportunity for the Cardinals either to make up some ground or be buried a little bit more.
Yeah, I think, first thing to note is that Christian Yelich has just come back from the IL, so we will get to see him. And if you remember, he had a fantastic start to the year. Willie Adames having a fantastic start to the year. Bryce Terang, same thing. Rhys Hoskins has been a great signing for them. We're already saying the praises of Willson Contreras, who's had he is probably now the most likely all-star catcher candidate for the National League. Freddie Peralta may be injured. He may be missing a start. That is not clear at this time. The bullpen has been pretty solid as well. I think going into this, if the Cardinals can split the series, that would be a massive win. But I think rightfully so. We're not feeling great about where we're headed right now and where the Brewers are headed. And sorry, Peralta's not injured. He's got a 5-game suspension.
He was suspended. Yeah. He was ejected without warning after hitting a guy. And ultimately chose not to appeal the suspension as well.
Kind of a weird play. I don't know if you saw that, and I disagreed with the way the umpire handled it, and then it was handled after that from the manager. But it is what it is. Yeah, but I don't really have much nice to say about this. They're better than the Cardinals are right now. They might just be better than the Cardinals. I don't know. They're playing at home, which is good, I guess. I don't know. I'm kind of at a loss for something nice to say.
Yeah. It's going to be a tough series. I think that's just the reality of it right now. It's a chance for the Cardinals to maybe make a statement, maybe have a little bit of a comeback and show what the team is made of and all that.
Yeah.
It's also a chance for some issues to be reinforced and for them to fall further behind the Brewers.
I thought of something good to say.
Well, we'll see about that.
Well, something positive to say.
You thought of something to say.
Not good. Their starting pitching is not good. Colin Ray has had a decent start to the year, but Joe Ross and Tobias Myers have not been good. And I don't think that they are good pitchers. It's likely that we'll miss Freddie Peralta. This could be the type of opportunity for the Cardinals offense to wake up against below average pitching. Maybe the heat of the central competition.
What was that?
I'm struggling over here, Nate.
The heat of the central competition might be just what they needed to revive a flailing offense.
Yeah, maybe. Probably not, but maybe.
Yeah. No, we're keeping it. We're returning to our positive outlook. Hambone. They are. This is it. This is the turnaround period.
I would rather have the Cardinals starting rotation than the Brewers starting rotation. I mean that.
That's a tough one.
Really?
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Definitely.
Yeah, Sonny Gray and Peralta. I think you're taking. It's a wash, right?
I'm taking Sonny Gray on that one.
Yeah. Peralta's pretty good, but I guess
he is.
Gray is probably the safer pick there. And obviously he's having as far as the starts of the season go, Gray's been incredible.
Right.
But Peralta's been pretty good too. Yeah, after that, you just get into who's like mix of like.
Hey, Lance Lynn is relevant this year, my friend.
That's true. That's true. All right,
more relevant than your ass. Yeah, come on,
convinced me. I'm all in on the Cardinal starting rotation. Yeah, I think it's a great chance for the Cardinals to bounce back and do it at home. Take 3 of 4 and let's go somewhere. Let's do it, people. And they're gonna ride that success into a series. Straight to hell. And then they're going to come out of hell riding flaming motorcycles. And they're going to play against the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim.
Hell yeah.
Who we talked about last week have lost Mike Trout, which sucks. But at least for the Cardinals, that's great. He was, by a mile, their best player. The Angels currently sit at 14 and 23, so they are below the Cardinals. And they're just not good. They're just not good. They've got a couple guys. They got a couple young guys that you can see maybe some of the future of this team. Logan O'Hoppe, great name. Love saying O'Hoppe. Their catcher seems like he's pretty good. Nolan Shanuel and Zach Neto, 2 really young guys who
I don't really like those guys.
They're not doing much right now, but I
don't think very highly of them.
I think Neto's going to be pretty good. Shanuel,
maybe.
You'll love a first baseman who can't hit home runs.
Yeah.
But I guess Luis Rengifo, kind of a fun, all-purpose guy. Taylor Ward, when he's hot, is a masher, and he's had a pretty good start to the season.
Cole Tucker is married to Vanessa Hudgens. That's
fun.
He's a 27-year-old post prospect utility player type guy. Not
a lot going on with this team. Pitching, Patrick Sandoval's okay. He's had a pretty good start to the year. Reed Detmers could be good. There's just not a lot on this team. And I said a lot about the Cardinals smoking the White Sox last week, so I'm not going to not in the prediction business here. But I feel pretty confident after the Cardinals sweep the Milwaukee Brewers, they're going to go in and sweep the Angels.
It is a team that they should beat.
Yes.
The Cardinals are better than them. They have a better group of players. Their bullpen clearly outshines what the Angels are bringing to the table. And the lack of Mike Trout, the team is just kind of irrelevant. But yeah, like Griffin Canning and Reed Detmers could put together really solid games against the Cardinals. They have it in the tank. Any of these guys can beat you on a given night. But the offense is bad and the pitching is bad. And I think the defense is really bad. It's just not a great team. I think the Angels are, like, as far as their proximity to winning, like full scale, I think that they are one of the worst teams in the league. I would put the Rockies and A's and Marlins and the Angels kind of all in the same bucket as you are irrelevant for the foreseeable future. This is a bad team. I feel bad for Ron Washington.
Yeah, he took that job though.
He sure did.
And even with Mike Trout going into the year, you knew they were going to be bad. So,
well, he's positive. Yeah, but I don't know. Baseball is weird. I mean, Houston Astros have the second worst record in AL right now. So
yeah, I was just looking at that, and I think it's interesting. So the Fangraphs playoff predictions. I'm assuming this is updating. So they still have the Astros at a 35% chance of making the playoffs, despite the fact that they are currently 12 and 23.
That tells you how early it is in the season right now.
Yes. I'm assuming that is updated.
It live updates every night.
Yeah. So exactly. They have a worse record than the Cardinals and still have a 35% chance to make the playoffs, according to Fangraphs. So still a lot of time.
Yeah. So
what's the Cardinals' current odds?
I was looking at it yesterday. I don't have the number on top of my head, but it actually has not dipped that much.
They have
even
it at
with
18%.
what we've been watching. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, these numbers change quickly too. So, all right, let's move into some league news.
Yeah, not too much to talk about, but we already mentioned it. The Luis Arias trade. He was traded from the Marlins to the Padres for prospects Dylan Head, Jacob Marcy, and Nathan Martorella,
Yes, Martorella.
as well as reliever Woo Suk Go, who came over from Korea. I'm not going to pretend to know Dylan Head, Jacob Marcy, and Nathan Martorella, but all accounts are that the Marlins did not do a great job with this trade. Not a huge amount of talent coming over, especially with the fact that the Marlins are paying all of Arias's salary for 2024, which is kind of wild. It makes me wonder. It's kind of crazy that the Padres did this deal because you'd think the last thing they need is another middle infielder. But obviously Arias has a great skill set. He gets on base almost like 380, something like that, career 370, career 80. So he'll be a positive player. But
from my understanding,
Marlins are
he's gonna primarily DH.
Yeah.
They've got enough middle infielders, but they've been DH has not been very productive for them. So he's going to primarily DH because he's also not a very strong defensive player. So it should be a good spot for him to just hit every day. And obviously that's the one thing that he can do pretty well. And yeah, I think that they went with quantity with upside potential over quality in prospects. Martorella is an interesting one. He's sort of that mold of strong plate approach, first base. If you're projected at first base when you're that young, it kind of says a lot about probably his build and defensive potential. But he might be pretty good offensively. So, it's a strange trade. I think it's cool that the Padres did it. And I think it's interesting that the Marlins were like, all right, we're all ready. Like, we're selling.
Man.
I wonder if they could have gotten more if they waited.
Or in the offseason when more teams were probably trying to get players like Arias.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, they get him for next year, too, which it just seems like a light package. What's crazy to me is that the Marlins are already tearing it down. They made it to the playoffs for the first time in however many years last year. Usually they do this after they win a World Series, but this time they couldn't even wait. They're just
couldn't wait.
Oh, we got too close. We barely made the playoffs. Let's rip it down to the studs and restart.
Everyone knows when you make the playoffs, first things first, make your general manager feel like shit.
Yeah.
Second of all, tell your on the field manager you're not renewing his contract.
Alienate him and then tell him that.
Yeah,
yes.
Yeah. So 2 key things you want to do.
Just embarrassing. But okay, I got more stuff to talk about. That just wore me out.
Yeah.
MLB is in advanced talks to make Roku, everyone's favorite streaming service, the new home for Sunday morning baseball. Is this the 16th option for streaming?
Oh my God. I hate it so much.
Yeah.
It's so bad and stupid.
It's really bad. The whole stream. I know we haven't talked about it recently. It's an absolute joke. MLB just shoots itself in the foot over and over again. There was a video yesterday of a guy was in a suite in Braves Stadium, Truist Park.
Yes.
And they have Xfinity play the games inside the suite, so you can kind of watch the replay as you're watching the game. And Truist Park was blacked out because of an Xfinity deal that wasn't making sense to carry Bally Sports. So you could not watch the game on TV inside the ballpark because MLB hates all of us, really.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've said it a lot. I think that arguably the biggest problem facing baseball, the biggest existential problem facing baseball is access.
Yeah.
And they're making it worse. They are not helping it.
Right. We haven't said this in a while, but I want to shout this out again. If you need help with understanding VPN or DNS rerouting or anything like that, if you would like to move to MLB.tv and watch games that way, we can help you. You can email us at talkaboutbirds@gmail.com. And if you're just struggling to be able to watch them, we can give you some tech advice because we're really cool. But yeah,
Yarr.
Shout out to that and tell your friends. We
have done it before.
We've done it before. Although if you don't want to watch Cardinals baseball right now, also totally understandable. So pick your poison, whatever you're feeling.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked up, and they're gonna announce like probably some $1 billion Roku deal while also saying that the league doesn't make enough money.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, that's all I got for league news this week.
All right, we're gonna wrap up. Hambone, I've got a new game for you. This is modeled after. There's a bunch of games like this that I think other podcasts have done.
Wait, there are other podcasts?
I just sit in an empty room and just listen to the clouds, and that's my other podcast.
That's cool.
So in this game, I'm going to give you a list of 3 or 4 things, and you have to choose which one of these things is out, no longer a part of the list, that's gone. In this game, I'm calling it You're Out.
Oh, I thought you'd have a sound effect. Oh, okay. There we go. I will say the little slow play there really sent me for a loop. That got me.
Yeah, I did not. I was trying to play it the whole time, but it just came in perfect comedic timing. Yeah. Okay, so I have a list of 4 things, 3 or 4 things, and you pick which one is out.
Okay. Can
First
I win?
One. What?
Can I win?
No. Well, I guess if you make good opinions.
Ooh.
Okay. First one: hot dogs, nachos, beer, and pretzels. Which one's out?
Oh, that's pretty fucked up that you would start it this way. Mm-hmm. I mean, beer and pretzels are 2 of my favorite things in the entire world.
Yeah.
Especially, I assume this is like a hot Bavarian pretzel, maybe a cheese dip on the side or some mustard.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So those 2, easy, keeping those. I hope I die with a beer in one hand and a pretzel in the other. Okay. So nachos and hot dogs. That's really tough.
It is tough.
I like them both.
Near impossible.
But I just love a cased meat. Like I feel like I can't imagine being where I'm at right now without cased meats. So I think based on that alone, I'm going to have to say nachos, you're out.
Cased meat has been a cornerstone to your success. You would not be nearly where you are today without cased meat.
Yeah. It's also subtracting from my life. So I can only have to be, at this level for so long.
Yeah, I love there was that study that was like for every hot dog you eat, you lose like 8 minutes of your life.
Oh, you know what? Take a hike. If that's what you go
take a day off. Whatever scientist is doing that needs a day off.
Yeah, take a day off. And who wants to live a life 8 minutes longer without a hot dog? I call bullshit on that.
Also,
is your life really that good? Is that you need those extra 8 minutes? Shut up.
So I cannot get rid of nachos, hot dogs, or beer. I do love a pretzel. I really do, but I think that's the one that's got to go from my list. I can't think. I don't eat a whole lot of pretzels. So I do
mustard's
love them.
Too spicy for me. I'm Nate.
I'm not a mustard man. You know this. It's not because it's too spicy. I do like spicy foods.
You not liking mustard is the worst thing about you.
Honestly, I'll take it. That's okay.
Hit us up on Twitter if you agree.
Isn't it weird how people like and dislike different things?
No, things are wrong or right.
All right, moving on. One of these is going to be out. The Pirates, the Reds, the Brewers, or the Cubs.
Just like
they're gone.
Out of baseball, out of history.
They're gone.
Okay. The Reds are one of the oldest teams in baseball. Jason LaRue, his poor head, the Big Red Machine, Joey Votto.
Classic, very important moments in Reds history.
History and all the things that come along with that. I think you have to keep them. Cubbies, I kind of put in the same, obviously the rivalry against the Cardinals, their history, Wrigley Field, the pinstripes, the curse, everything that goes along with the Cubs and the rivalry. I think you have to keep them. So then it comes down to Pittsburgh and Milwaukee. And I think Pittsburgh kind of has those things too. They have, current Pittsburgh team is pretty fun. They've had some decent seasons in our lifetime. They've also been quite down in our lifetime. I think they have great uniforms. They have a great ballpark.
Great bridge.
Roberto Clemente.
Bridge. Yeah.
Roberto Clemente is notable. Why can't I think of the guy that threw the no-hitter on acid? Those like 70s Pirates
Doc
teams. Doc Ellis. The 70s Pirates teams are amazing. And they just have a great history. And then I think, you come and look at the Brewers, and the fact that they're named after beer or they're related to beer is good. I like that. But outside of that, Prince Fielder, also good. I like that.
We like
the
a Prince
ballpark
Fielder.
is bad.
Yeah.
And you know who I don't like is Ryan Braun.
Ryan Braun, that Aladdin-looking motherfucker. Yeah, get him out of here.
We're huge Top Chef fans over here at at my house, and the current season is taking place in Milwaukee, and they did a hot dog cooking competition at the ballpark, which was exciting, but there was rain on my parade because Ryan Braun shows up as one of the judges, and I'm like, what? Who wants to ask this guy anything about anything?
Remember they made him call every season ticket holder and apologize?
That's good. I like that. But Bob Uecker, I forgot about Bob Uecker. What would baseball look like if Bob Uecker didn't exist?
He gone.
I have to. I think the bad ballpark, their lack of history, they just haven't been around all that long. I think I have to say bye to the Brewers. Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
That's mostly on Ryan Braun's hands, though. I just hate him.
Yeah, same. That was my answer as well. All right, moving on. Fastball, changeup, curve, slider.
Fastball, changeup, curve, slider.
Yeah.
This is so stupid. Obviously, you're keeping the fastball because that's the foundation of pitching. And who doesn't like the heater?
Wow.
Am I right?
Big stinky cheese.
Big stinky cheese. Curveball, Uncle Charlie. Think of Steve Carlton, Adam Wainwright, Clayton Kershaw. I mean, come on now. It's a staple. It's baseball. I think you say baseball to somebody, you're playing word association, curveball is like the second thing that comes up.
We need like a Family Feud style thing where we ask, like, you think of baseball. What are your first thoughts?
I bet that's
what's
your
second thought?
Yeah. All right. Then we get to the breaking ball or the slider and changeup. Now, I love a good changeup. We've seen some really nasty changeups thrown this season by the Cardinals. Might be Miles Michaelis' only good pitch this year. And I like the idea. The nature of how a changeup works is very fun to me. The fact that you essentially just grip a ball differently to slow it down, but you throw it just like a fastball, and the motion of the throwing is what tricks I just love the thought process there. That being said, I think, especially in our lifetimes, we've seen the slider there's just been epic sliders. I think of Brad Lidge before he was broken. Jack Flaherty comes to mind immediately. It's hard. Bob Gibson, where would we be without Bob Gibson's slider?
Right.
Who knows?
In hell.
Having to choose one, though, I think I prefer the way that a changeup works over a slider just because of that trickery. I just think it's kind of wild that we figured that out, and that's a normal part of baseball. I'll go with the I'm executing. We're killing these, right? I'm executing the slider.
No more sliders.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a tricky one. I was torn between the curveball and the slider, and I think I landed on slider as well because I love a good 12-6.
Oh yeah.
All right. Oh yeah. All right. Chip Carey, Brad Thompson, Jim Edmonds, and Jimmy the Cat.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm keeping Jimmy the Cat for sure.
Of course, obvious.
King.
Easiest choice of the list.
King, yes.
Why don't they make the whole booth out of Jimmy the Cat?
They should. He did a booth game when Chip Carey was losing his voice, and I was like, give me more Jimmy. He's so much better. He is actually charming. I would kill for some charm in the booth. I said this already. I was listening to the Mets broadcast last night, and I was like, oh my God, they're talking about the game. Keith Hernandez is explaining what the players might be thinking in certain situations. He was calling things, and then they would happen. Like, he was really locked into the game. And I thought, wow, we don't have this at all. Jim Edmonds is either talking about something that's happening in a different state, or about that one time he talked to Albert Pujols about something.
Right. Or his text messages.
Brad is just, it's like one of those where you pull the string and it lands on a count, it goes moo. It's just like he is Rolodexing through like 12 different phrases that he has preloaded. Like, the guy is incapable of having original thoughts. He can be funny sometimes. Yeah. So I'll give that to him. And I think Chip Carey, especially as we've been with him for this amount of time, he's just boring. So I'll pick Chip Carey. Got Chip Carey and the Cat, and I kind of want to launch the other two into space. Jim Edmonds was a better ball player, but is a bigger idiot. Brad Thompson says nothing to say and was a bad ball player.
Damn.
I guess I'll go Jimmy Edmonds, and Brad Thompson gets launched into the sun.
Oh, okay. I thought. All right. Wow. I was going to cut Jim Edmonds because even though I think that he has the higher ceiling as far as baseball analyst goes, we just almost never see it. And Brad Thompson is at least funny. And to me, that's always a redeeming quality that I'll take.
I think our booth is bad right now.
Yeah. All right. Well, speaking of bad, I've got another one for you. We just got a few more. First base, second base, third base, and home base. Home plate. You got to get rid of one of them.
Okay. I'm not going to break this one down like I was breaking down the other ones. Obviously, you need home plate. Makes sense. First base. That's where all the action's happening, baby. Running down the line, so on and so forth. Second base, that's scoring position. Lego. Third base, we don't really use it that often. Bases are loaded, triples. Sometimes we're over there. We rarely steal it. It's kind of superfluous. Honestly, if they just made it a straight line from second base to home, are we losing that much baseball? I don't know. Maybe it'd have to be a little more parabolic, maybe around the pitcher. So it's not like a direct line, because I think we could lead into some crashes. But I don't know if baseball is that much worse if you're running kind of a curved line from second directly to home and just avoiding third base. So I say third base, you're out.
Yeah, I was thinking third base as well, but mostly because I think I disagree. I think you do a straight line right across the mound from second to home, so it adds a whole new element. Pitcher got to get out of the way.
That's a lot of fun. So, I mean, if that exists, if that's if there's a baseline that's going over the pitcher's mound, then that means that the pitcher's role as soon as the ball is a lot different, because you're trying to tag guys out in the base as they're making that run. That would be the longest. The run from second to home would be a really long run, so it would be risky. So there'd probably be a lot of doubles, and there would be more inside the park home runs, but I wonder how much more.
Yeah. I'm also imagining trying to steal home on the pitch. You just start like running right behind the pitcher as
chase him down. Yeah, then he throws a wild pitch because he heard footsteps, and I don't know. That's a fun game to me. I think we just invented a new version of baseball.
Throw in multi-ball.
There we go. Perfect sport.
There we go. Perfect sport. All right. Two more for you, Ben. Shortstop, third baseman, second baseman, or center fielder?
Okay. Wow. Center field you have to keep, because I think center field is my favorite position, or catcher is my favorite position, but of those four that you listed. So I'll keep center fielder because, boy, oh boy, do I love watching that Michael Ciani get him out there.
Wow. Get him.
Shortstop, I'll say the same thing. It's premium position. What are we doing? Third base is fine. Well, we got a good one right now, which makes it more entertaining. Scott Rowland. Yeah, they're fine. Second base. Cardinals haven't really had a great run of second baseman. Colton Wong comes to mind.
Say Colton Wong erasure.
Yeah, he was good, not great. I'm trying to. There hasn't really been a guy since at least I've been a Cardinals fan. So I think I'll have to get rid of second base. It's just less exciting players tend to go over.
You have your shortstop now running over to cover second on plays there too?
Yeah, I think so. And, Paul can pick it over there. And I think I would just put Mason Wynn basically standing as close to behind second base as possible, and then tell Arenado and Goldie to play wide and figure that out.
Okay. Yeah, I think so. I was thinking maybe third and just have like shortstop play deep center over there and just try to cover as much as possible.
Wynn could do it. If anybody could do it, it'd be him.
Yeah. All right. The last one I've got for you, Hambone. The 3 true outcomes. We're turning it into 2 true outcomes. Strikeout, walk, home run. One of them is going away.
Yeah, walk, easy. Walks are boring. Who gives a shit?
You could
strikeouts are fun. Homers are fun.
So now you're in the box until you either strike out or make contact.
Yeah,
and get a ball in play.
That sounds fun. You'd have to you could do that, but there would have to be a time limit on games. You'd have to add a clock, which would break it. But you could totally do that, and it would probably lead to a lot of pitcher injuries.
But we're already there anyway. So we get rid of third base.
Yeah.
We get rid of walks.
Yeah.
We add multi-ball.
Yep.
No second baseman, even though there's no third base.
Well, you still got to cover that part of the field.
That's a good point.
So I think it makes sense.
I think we've improved baseball.
Wow. We did it.
Wow. All right. Well, that was our new game, You're Out. If you have an idea for a game or something you'd like to add to the show or ask us, please don't hesitate to reach out through all the means before. You can find all of them at talkingaboutbirds.com. Once again, please consider the patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. Big series this weekend, Hambone, and the Mets game has been postponed officially. That happened just in the last few minutes while we've been chatting. So we'll see how that goes. We'll see how this series against the Angels go. And we will be back next week, as always. And until then, go Cardinals.
Guys, I know it's hard out there right now being a Cardinals fan, but we appreciate you staying with us.
Wow.
Good night.
Wow.
Jesus, please take the wheel. I can't do it. I'm not strong enough.
You think he knows how to drive?
Hell yeah, he invented the car.